Today is Wednesday, July 8th. Hello playlisters, we're happy to be back from our week-long break. This is an episode you don't want to miss. We have a new potluck party video featuring barbecue magic with chefs Oya Woodruff, Brady Foster, Floyd Riptip Carson, and Chef Tracy Couliard. Baroque music goodness with musician Robert Bolyard. He would tell us about the Blakeman Gerber Indianapolis International Baroque competition and play the viola da gamba for us. Thoughts on hospitality in a new city chatter by Ebony Chappel. What's new in arts and culture? Let's hear from arts and culture reporter Mescana Weiss.
Is barbecue a love language? Consider the love and rubs on meats and sides by some of Indy's best chefs in the latest potluck party video with Chef Oya. Bonus, we have recipes for you to make your own sauce and sides at home. Let's hear a clip.
Today we are having a summer barbecue. I'm super excited. I brought a couple of friends with me today. So first, let's hear from Chef Brady.
Chef Oya asked me to bring brisket. Chose to make a house-made teriyaki jerk barbecue sauce. I just love barbecue. I grew up actually working for a barbecue restaurant when I was younger. I love the concept of barbecue and the concept of using cheap cuts of meat, cooking it low and slow, and coming out with a beautiful product.
I love it. I love it. Chef Floyd, tell us about what your rib tips.
I brought smoked rib tips, a little bit of the process, let them marinate, season overnight, smoke them, maybe about 2-3 hours, chop them up, then put them back on the grill to finish off the smoke. A little bit about myself, I learned how to barbecue at 8 years old. My mother taught me how to cook. She was like, get on that grill. I never thought it would be on this level. Everybody called me Reverend Rib Tip in the city because I used to be a youth pastor, and that's kind of how it was a joke, but I'm like, man, that name kind of took off.
And next we have Chef Tracy Couliard. Tell us about yourself and what you brought.
I brought some grilled chicken wings. I marinated them for a little bit, for about an hour or so. I used a lot of Asian ingredients in my barbecue sauce this morning. One of the things I like about barbecue sauces is that you can use whatever you got handy.
We want to hear from the people in the comments, though. Do you put eggs in your potato salad? Do you put raisins in your potato salad? Right? When you grill your corn, do you grill your corn with the husk on or the husk off? How do you love to make your baked beans? Do you put them on the grill when you make them, or you bake them in the oven? What is your favorite thing to eat during the barbecue season? We want to hear from you in the comments. We will see y'all next time.
You can watch the full video at mirrorindy.org/arts. While you're there, check out the previous potluck video all about sweet potatoes. The new app, Fork Yes, might save you from petty breakups, hangry arguments, or just plain embarrassment if you select the wrong place for your dinner plans. Think Tinder meets Yelp, Calendly, and Google Chrome. At Garfield Park's Dollar Menu Night, you can have dinner and connect with neighbors while harvesting and cooking garden fresh veggies. Click through our newsletter to read about how it works and how to attend the next one. In case you missed something, see all arts and culture coverage at mirrorindy.org/arts.
Music news. Okay, I'm here with Robert Bolyard, who's a volunteer organizer for the Blakeman Gerber Indianapolis International Baroque competition. So what are you playing for us?
Well, I brought my tenor viola da gamba, and this is one of Christopher Simpson's divisions on a ground.
So, first of all, what is a viola da gamba?
Well, a lot of people haven't heard of it, so it's a question I'm used to answering. I describe it as sort of the step cousin of the lute, or maybe if you've seen a cello or a viola, it's kind of like that too. So like a cello, it's held with the legs, which is what gamba means. Gamba means legs, so we hold it with our legs. And viola kind of means fiddle, so it's like a leg fiddle, if you will. It came from lutenists many hundreds of years ago wanting to play their instruments with a bow. So it has a lot of strings like a lute. It has 6 strings as opposed to 4. So I came to it because I used to be a cellist, and so it was a natural kind of way to explore a different kind of music.
How did you first fall in love with music?
With music in general? Oh, boy, back when I was in youth choir when I was a little kid, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Even when I knew I wanted to do music, I knew choir was the thing.
How old were you?
Probably about 12 or 13 when I really decided, like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Oh, wow. That's really impressive. And it kind of also shows how important the role of teachers at such a young age.
Yeah.
How did you get into Baroque music? Or first, I guess, could you please explain to us what Baroque music is?
Sure. So the Early Music Festival in town, we do Baroque music, we do medieval music, and Renaissance music. So basically music before, say, 1800. And Baroque music would be right around from like 1600 to 1750 is usually what people talk about when we're talking in a Western European context. So people like, Vivaldi, the Four Seasons, Bach, those are Baroque composers that many people have heard of, Handel, Messiah, that kind of stuff. Before orchestras were the big thing in classical music, a lot of music written in Western Europe was for singers because that's what the church needed, right? They needed a lot of music for church services. So a lot of music before, say, 1600 was primarily for singers. And at least that's what we have written down that we still have. And so as a choir person, I ended up singing a lot of music that was very old. And I really liked that. And then later when I found the viola da gamba and I found a way to play that same music instrumentally, because a lot of the music that's from that time really speaks to me as a choir person. It's more of that intimate experience that you're having with the people you're playing with, as opposed to you're in an orchestra, you're a pawn in a giant game of chess, right? But like in a choir or in a Baroque or Renaissance ensemble, you're really all equally kind of making the music happen together. And so that's the kind of music making that's always really spoke to me.
When you're playing or participating in a choir, do you feel like you're time traveling? Do you think that do you think that has something to do with creating that intimate experience that you're like all going to the past together?
Yeah, and there's something really cool about, like you said, about doing it together, because especially with music that old, there's a lot that we don't know. And of course, there's a lot of music that's been lost, but the music that we do have, we know some things, but then we kind of have to figure out how to make it work in a really interesting way. Obviously, there's a lot of scholarship that's been done, but also like when we get together, we get to decide how are we going to make this piece our own, because we don't have like exact, strict guidelines from the composer say you have to do it exactly this way. So between that and there's also a lot of improvisation or just kind of a more improvisatory feel about music from before 1800. So it is very like co-created in a way, and it's like a dialogue with the past in a really cool way.
So do you find that there's like an American way of interpreting early music?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there are a few places that are sort of hotbeds of early music scholarship and practice, like Switzerland is one, other places in Europe, Germany for sure. Weirdly, Indiana was one for quite a long, it still is, but it was one for quite a long time because the early music program at Jacobs is so strong. They've recently gone through some changes there, but it's made it more difficult for them. A lot of the really cutting edge early music stuff was going on right here in Indiana, which I think is really cool. In terms of an American style, I think a lot of the young people that I know that are in early music right now are doing a lot to sort of infuse, I don't want to say a ruggedness, but like a really a sort of gritty earthiness to it, because I think people think classical music is very, powdered wigs and the court and very like highfalutin kind of thing. And so this might just be my own anecdotal experience, but a lot of the young people I see playing early music now are trying to infuse it with that sort of rugged of the people kind of feeling. That I know folks who are, I mentioned improvisation, people who are taking that to like the nth degree and sort of adding their own musical style informed by the present onto that of the past in a way that I think is pretty unique. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, but it also brings up another question. So Joseph Kilbourne, who is the audio producer, he studied classical guitar.
Oh, okay.
And he was explaining to me that there's something very mathematical about Baroque music. So he said I should ask you, about the mathematical algorithmic aspect, like I guess in contrast to now with AI, that there is a very human element to algorithm and mathematics in art.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, so the first thing that comes to mind if you're talking about that is there. I'll try to make this a very simple explanation. Sorry, I could geek out about this for a long time. So in Baroque music, there's a thing called figured bass. Mm-hmm. So the lowest part of the ensemble would be like your cellos, your basses, whatever, and then either a harpsichord or a lute or maybe an organ, whatever. And there, say the cellos and the bassoons or whoever would be just playing one note, right? But then the organist or the harpsichordist or the lutenist would have to play chords on top of that. They're not just playing one note at a time, they're playing chords. But those chords aren't written out. They're written in what's called figured bass, which is just a series of numbers. And it's like a little mathematical code. So this number means you play this kind of chord. This number means you play this kind of chord. And so there is both kind of a math about it because you have to see what the numbers are and then do the math of what intervals make what notes and play that. But then there's also a very challenging artistic part of it too, which is you need to make that sound like music and not just here's a bunch of chords, but here's a naturally beautiful musical line. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. There's a lot of ways that Baroque music is very has a lot of that kind of left brain stuff, if you will, but that's the one that comes to mind for me.
I just think that's fascinating because I think people don't think about art as being mathematical, normally, but I guess in this case, could that be said?
Oh, for sure. And even, as a singer, when we talk about tuning, because we'll tend to tune things differently if we're not playing with instruments, because pure mathematical tuning that sounds good to us is not exactly the way like the piano is tuned. There's a lot of different math going on there. And so we're not thinking about, this is 3/100ths of a half step sharper than usual. We're just hearing it and doing it. But that is a representation of the math that is underlying that kind of stuff. So the Blakeman Gerber Indianapolis International Baroque Competition is on Sunday, July 12th. Yeah.
Is everyone invited?
Yes, absolutely. And you can get your tickets at baroquecompetition.org. This is a really exciting event to happen. It's the third one we've had. 2016, 2020, which was postponed for obvious reasons to 2022, and now 2026. So we're going to keep having it every 4 years. And thanks to a new endowment that's been created, the competition is now endowed in perpetuity. So I can say with confidence, we'll be doing this every 4 years right here in Indianapolis for the foreseeable future. And we've got 5 young players from all over the world coming, cello, violin, flute. It's going to be really, really exciting to see the energy that these young people bring to this music, and to see it happen right here with our own local players, with our Indianapolis Baroque Orchestra. So we're really excited to put on this event with them.
So if I'm just a regular person, I'm not a musician, why should I go to the competition?
I think of all of the events that we do over the summer with the Early Music Festival, this is one of the most accessible because we've got the young players coming. And so there's an energy to it that is really unmatched. It's going to be probably a pretty full house, so I would get your tickets pretty soon. And just knowing that these are people who have dedicated their lives to get to this point and to show what they're doing, and not just playing, I should say, but also they lead the orchestra. So when a concertist is in front of an orchestra, they're not just playing, they're also leading the orchestra. So they've brought the parts, they've made the markings, they're sort of conducting the show. And so you'll get to see 5 really different approaches to this music. Plus, we've got a really cool MC, Michael Toulouse, who's going to be kind of leading us through the program. So if you've never heard Baroque music before, this is a great way to get introduced to it. And plus, at the end, you get to pick your favorite. So you don't get to do that at every concert. You don't get to vote for your favorite. But this one you do, and they'll get a little bit of extra prize.
You guys made a playlist for us, right? So we can share that too in this newsletter. So make sure you prepare by listening. So you are a father of a 5-year-old. Are you teaching your son about early music?
The short answer is yes. There is an album of medieval street music, so music that wasn't played in court, that was played like out in the streets, that I have been playing for him since he was a little baby. And at first it was just kind of a little joke, like, oh, let me just introduce him to this kind of music. And we haven't listened to it in about a year and a half, but just a couple weeks ago, he said, Papa, I want to hear that really high flute music. I was trying to think, what? Oh, I bet it's that. And we put it on, he knew exactly what it was, and he was kind of bopping along in the back seat. So I'm not going to be super pushy about which instruments he plays, but he does know what a gamba is. I don't know that he knows what a cello is yet.
So he's not allowed to play football.
Well, we'll see.
Find out more at mirrorindy.org/arts.
What else is up, Ms. Ghana?
You can see the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra for free July 14th or 15th at Ellenberger Park and Garfield Park. Edible Indie made a list of glizzy spots to hit up this summer. Shorty Films is what's up at the Indie Shorts Film Festival July 21st through the 26th. Are you and your bestie making lots of art this summer? The annual BFF Art Show at Storage Space is taking submissions now. The Corn Festival is looking for vendors. Indie Shakes is staging an adaptation of King Lear at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater at Riverside Park July 23rd through August 1st.
Did you know you can listen to playlists on your favorite podcast platforms? Subscribe and get a notification each time we upload a new episode with indie arts and culture news. City Chatter. Let's hear from Free Press Indiana's Ebony Chappel.
What's good, friends? I'm taking a break from my Ebony Post etiquette tips this time to talk about the unreasonableness of being hospitable. The inspo comes from the book Unreasonable Hospitality, written by Will Guidara, co-producer of FX's hit show The Bear, and the brilliant mind that made 11 Madison Park one of the best restaurants in the world. This past weekend, I hosted a family reunion for the second time, and for those of you who have tried to do anything like this before, you know how taxing the process could be. I had a rough go at it for all sorts of reasons. The weather, my own self-doubt and perfectionism, the dreaded feeling of never having enough time, money, or energy to pull everything off. The list goes on. At some point, in the midst of my spiral, I decided to open my Libby app and listen to Will lay out his philosophy around going above and beyond to serve others and create legendary moments that your guests will never forget. In his instance, legendary looks like bringing a New York City street hot dog to a table that bemoaned the fact that their culinary journey through the Big Apple was almost perfect, save a good old Frank. For me, the legend, as he calls it, came by way of a dollar store water gun that made my niece yelp with joy, and a misting fan that made my grandma ooh and ah in refreshed delight. The day before our cookout, I took my cousins to the living room lounge for Friday night karaoke. Saturday night, they kept the sing-along party going at Punch Bowl Social and lovingly reprimanded me for not telling them how cool our downtown was. Sunday afternoon, over Texas Roadhouse rolls, one cousin reminded me that the reunion I hosted in 2023 was the last time she saw my dad alive. I'd forgotten that detail. Organizing events and serving others is not for everyone, but for those of us who feel so called, remember, look after your mental health first and foremost. You literally cannot pour from an empty cup. Also, keep in mind that the coolest things about your gathering won't be how perfect the food is or how fancy your house is decorated. It'll be in the small, unexpected, and thoughtful gestures that remind people that they were thought of, that you truly care, and find joy in welcoming them into your space. Happy hosting, friends. Peace.
Thanks for listening. You can reach me at jennifer.delgadillo@mirrorindy.org. I'd love to hear from you.
You can become a champion for local news by supporting community-centered journalism today. Visit mirrorindy.org/donate.
This newsletter was written by me, Jennifer Delgadillo, edited by Amanda Kingsbury, and produced by Miguel Dominguez. Playlist illustrations are by Rebecca Nolan. The audio version of this newsletter was recorded and edited with Joseph Kilborn. The music in the audio version of this newsletter is Treasure Everywhere by Forestero.